give us 1 minute on your assessment of this draft transparency tool. And let me start with you, Rayyan. You're still on the screen with me, so hopefully you can start this off.
Well, I think at the end of the day, for us, representing local communities, it's about proximity. It's about proximity between the information and the local community and how to bridge that gap. So this tool and the sectors that it covers for all forms of lending, sovereign, non-sovereign, FIs, it's ambitious, but for us, we would probably require more. If you want real risk to be mitigated, once the bulldozer has come in and people have been resettled unwillingly, to solve that problem is way more complex than to do it prior to the bulldozer, right? So the tool is effective in keeping the DFIs pushing forward towards further disclosure. And I think more initiatives like this and deepening engagements like what Publish What You Fund has done is taking the direction and, is taking the entire discussion in the right space. Civil society is here, EBRD and other DFIs are here. So I think, yeah, the spirit of what we're trying to achieve is right, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Good. Nadia Nikolova.
I am a great fan of the initiative, as you probably have seen through my participation in the last 2 years. I think the fact that we're having this conversation on its own is very positive with the stakeholders that we've had in the last 2 years working on the initiative. Of course, I am with Rayyan on more can be done, but this is a good first step to engage with private sector investors, and with that I mean institutional investors, to educate as a first step what are actually development finance institutions investing in. And that is a first step before we can crown them in. That's why I keep on going back to the urgency, because it takes some time to educate before we can really see the large scales of capital that we want to see. When we're talking about trillions of capital per annum for the SDGs, really start flooding in. And again, it's 2022 around the corner.
You keep saying that. Eventually we're going to listen to you. Nadia Daar.
Thanks. I mean, from our standpoint, a summary of the point I've been trying to make is it's impossible for DFIs to make development impact claims or to make sustainability and human rights and environmental commitments, but then fail to provide the information necessary to assess and monitor those commitments and hold DFIs accountable. And while there's been significant movement over the years, on the DFI side, on transparency, on the DFI side, it's been patchy progress. And yes, the IFC has been a leader, for example, has made a lot of progress on FI sub-project disclosure commitments, but even those have yet to be properly implemented. And there are still many, many, many gaps across the sector. So this new transparency tool for us offers an evidence-based and quite comprehensive tool to help DFIs take those necessary steps to improve their transparency and move in the right direction. And hopefully it will create a race to the top for transparency and accountability.
Good. Tom?
Yeah, thanks. I think I'd say 3 things really on the tool. First of all, I think George, you quoted the fact that it's collaborative. I think that is definitely something that we would call out, and I think that's going to be the foundation of its success, really. The second thing is it's doable, and I think that's really important because. For us, I mean, as I was saying earlier, we're looking at a review coming up well, we're going to start it fairly shortly, really, in the greater scheme of things. But in 2024, we're going to be doing a review, and this is going to form a key plank in that review. It's doing some of the landscape reviewing that we would need to have done anyway. But the key point here, and this is the third point I'd make, is that because it's not just the DFI, in this case, us, the EBRD doing it, it's a collaborative enterprise with us and with lots of other people as well is going to give people confidence that we're actually going in the right direction. Because we do need to, as Nadia, and I keep quoting you, and I'm sorry, but I hope you don't mind, that we do push the boundaries. Because the biggest challenge that we face here really is culture change. Even if the information is available, if the culture isn't there and willing to disclose what needs to be disclosed, we're always going to face an uphill battle. So this is a great tool, and we're very excited to have been part of the journey up until now. It's fantastic that it is now launching, and we look forward to continuing the great work.
So, Elizabeth, you get to put a wrap on the panel discussion.
You've, no surprise, assembled a coalition of the willing, I would say. But, before I joined the DFC, the agency was actively engaging with Gary and the team in the development of this tool. And it was because, we wanted to better understand gaps in what DFC discloses compared to other DFIs. And I can say with some authority that we're quite committed to trying to fill gaps. And this tool really provides that, albeit North Star, because we have work to do. But we're starting with some of the lower hanging fruits and moving forward. And we are really grateful for the work that's been done for this initiative. I think it will genuinely help the DFC focus its efforts on collecting and publishing data that really is valuable to stakeholders. And, I'm learning a lot in this new role, but the more transparent we are, the more trust, as George said, we do engender with our authorizers as well as with other stakeholders. So we're pleased to use this as a guide, and thank you very much for the opportunity today.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So let me bring this event to a closure with a few observations of what I heard today. One is that transparency is fundamental. It's fundamental to DFI's mandates. And if we want to better understand impact, if we want to build markets, if we want to make sure we're accountable to affected populations, then transparency has to be there. Second, one thing everyone agrees with is that we're not where we need to be on transparency of development finance. There's some leaders out there, but even they have ways to go. Thirdly, we're also hearing that traditional arguments around commercial confidentiality have to be challenged. Some DFIs have found ways to overcome some hurdles, even some of the most sensitive data. And finally, the DFI Transparency Tool provides a practical and useful step in the right direction. If used properly, it will help us standardize development finance disclosure and provide timely, comparable data about the impact. It strikes a balance between being ambitious and achievable. I think Tom said that. Tom said it's achievable. We know many DFIs will be challenged to produce all this information for the first time around. But we also know that a number of DFIs are already disclosing some of this information and seem to be eager to use it, to use the tool. Some have already started using it, and we will be interested and we'll be following what those results are.